There are a number of bad smells that you might encounter when implementing and doing Scrum. At first, these might seem innocent, no big deal, but suggest in most cases that something very wrong is going on. By the end of this video, you'll know what these issues, problems, bad signs smell like. The whole smell concept originally comes from code smell, which is a hint that something might have gone wrong in your source code. Now, just because something smells bad, it doesn't always mean that there's a problem. However, there should be further investigation. Like code smells, Scrum smells is a hint that something may have gone wrong with your Scrum practices. Maybe the velocity of a team is unstable. Maybe the product owner is not available enough for the team. I've worked with many organizations, many clients, many teams, and there's always things that are smelly going on. And it's your role as a Scrum Master to keep an eye open or a nose open, I can say in this scenario, to detect these small problems before they become big problems. You might have experienced this during the daily Scrum. The Scrum Master asks one of the developers, let's call the developer David, David, what did you do yesterday? What will you do today? Anything blocking you from achieving your goal for the day, David? And David just says, I'm working on the same thing as I was working on yesterday. That's my update. Is there something wrong here? There's definitely something wrong here. But maybe your team is so used to these kinds of updates that they no longer realize that something is not well here. Something is definitely wrong here. I'm not going to tell you what's wrong now. We're going to talk about this later. Let's talk about other smelly things for now. Number one, working on multiple sprints at the same time. If your team seems to often be working not only on the current sprint, but on the past sprint and on the future sprint, there's something definitely going wrong here, and you need to ask why. Is your team releasing every single sprint? If not, do they even know that they should be releasing a working increment every single sprint? Maybe the deployment takes too long. Maybe they are just completing, setting user stories, tasks to done without actually testing these things. Just completing a sprint and moving all uncompleted stories, not done stories to the next sprint over and over again, a repeating pattern. Doesn't seem like a bad thing, but it definitely smells bad. It's a sign that something is wrong. Something wrong is going on, and the Scrum Master should investigate why this is happening often. As per the Scrum Guide 2020, the entire Scrum team is accountable for creating a valuable, useful working increment every single sprint. You don't need to release it to the public every sprint, no, but at least you need to deploy it to production. Get it done each sprint, not move uncompleted things to the next sprint, to the next sprint, to the next sprint, on and on. No, release every single sprint. It's better to ask questions now. Tell the truth about why you are slow, why you can't deploy, than fool yourself about how fast you want to go. Number two, the daily Scrum going over time box. As per the Scrum Guide, the daily Scrum should be time boxed to 15 minutes. 15 minutes for a mature Scrum team is enough. It usually takes less than 15 minutes to do for a mature Scrum team. But if your daily Scrum is dragging along more than 15 minutes, often it smells bad, and you need to investigate. As a Scrum Master, you need to investigate that. Ask questions. There's multiple reasons why it might drag more than 15 minutes. But the number one reason, I usually feel that the number one reason from my experience is people deep diving into problems, into user stories, going into too much details about these problems, issues, user stories, specifications. Why are we doing that? This is the important part here. Are we communicating during the day? Are you sure about that? Or is their first and only time communicating with each other during the day? That's why they are going into so much details, because they are not talking again during the day. And that's bad. Ensure that the team is talking after the stand-up. That's the most important part of the day. Talking during the day, not only in the stand-up. So if people were talking during the day, why would they need to go into this much details in the stand-up? Ask yourself this question. Number three, scope creep happens often. The developers might decide mid-sprint to start working on other things, take user stories, tasks from the backlog and move them to the sprint backlog and work on them during the sprint. There's nothing wrong with that. But if this happens often, it smells bad. Why are we doing that? We do a sprint planning for a reason. We prioritize things and commit on a list of user stories and tasks to do during the sprint. If you're working on other things, why was it not included in the sprint planning? of his other things priority items. And the same thing happens when stakeholders or anyone outside the team or even product owner in the team gives small requests to the developers. Hey, can you just do that? All these small things, if done multiple times in the sprint, distract the developers and remove their focus on the sprint goal, on the priority on the sprint that was committed on in the sprint planning, on other things. And as a result, we might end up not being able to complete what we plan to do, what we committed on to do in the sprint planning. Number 4, that's not my job. This usually happens when there's specific roles in the team. A front-end developer, back-end developer, Android developer, iOS developer, tester, QA. Remember, as per the Scrum guide, the Scrum Master, the product owner, and the developers. 3 roles. That's it. Other roles only confuse people. The team should be cross-functional, meaning that they have all the information, all the skills, all the knowledge required in order to release every single sprint. Work on what we decided to work on. The team should be self-managed and self-organized. When people tell you, testers tell you, no, it's not my problem. We are late in development and I have nothing to do, but I can't help. No, I can't help. Or developers, they feel that the tester is overloaded with work. I do only development. I cannot test. I cannot help. No. Everyone is accountable to release this thing, this working increment every single sprint. Everyone is accountable for quality. Everyone is accountable to ensure that we are releasing something of value. We should be working together to meet the sprint goal, not specific things that I need to do and then I remain idle for the entire sprint because that's not my problem. Number 5, a push system. Remember, the Scrum team should be self-managed. They decide what to build, how to build it, who builds it, and by when to build it. That's what self-management and self-organization is all about. Let the team organize how they want to do it. But in some cases, the product owner, the Scrum Master, or the tech lead of the team assigns work to developers. They tell developers what to do, instead of letting them decide what they want to work on with the skills, knowledge, and availability, capacity that they have. This is the way it should work. Let them self-organize about themselves. Don't assign work to them, because when you assign work to them, you remove this control from them. You remove this decision-making power from them. They are no longer self-managed. They are no longer self-organized. There's this manager in the team delegating things, telling people what to do. That's not what self-management is all about. And Scrum, if there's no self-management, doesn't work. It simply doesn't work. So stop doing that. If you feel that you need to assign work, a Scrum Master, a product owner, or a tech lead assigns work to someone, even if it's once, it can cause a lot of issues. A lot of issues, because the team won't feel self-managed. And if something happens once, it can happen a lot of times in the future also. So if you see someone doing that, as a Scrum Master, investigate why this person is doing that. Ask questions and fix the issue. Which brings me to my next point. If you want more tips, insights on Agile Scrum personal growth, click on the video that stands out the most on the screen right now, and I'll see you in a few seconds.